The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.
What's up, everybody? I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
And this is the Magic Mike Show, episode 578. Mr. Somich.
The big old Gulfstream prep huzzah!
Boy, last weekend hurt. I had so many big opinions on stuff, and those big opinions went.
Yeah, last week was tough. The Gulfstream card was chaotic, to say the least,
yes.
on Pegasus Day. A lot of prices all over the place. Not the ones I liked either, which is always frustrating because it feels like on those big days when there are prices, if you can get to them, you can get to a big score. And yeah, that didn't happen. Not gonna lie, it wasn't my favorite Pegasus Day ever. But our boy Wagering, man, like every now and then he just shows up, and you're like, that's a really good horse. And that was one of those days where he was a very, very good horse.
Oh, he kicked some serious ass. Yeah, that was like kind of saving grace, and it might have been the only leg of that sequence that I got right. I can't remember. I remember that not feeling good about anything, and then that happened. I was like, well, at least Wagering won. It's good to see Wagering, a classic winner from, it feels like 2 years ago. Well, I guess it was technically 2 calendar years, but forever ago that horse last did anything impressive, and you're like, shit, okay, well, he beat some good horse. It wasn't the best Pegasus field, like in terms of the quality of the, who was in it, but he just destroyed them. It was the biggest winning margin in the history of the race. You got a 109 buyer for it. Let's just hope that going back to the Saudi Cup doesn't screw him up so badly like it did last year. He's got Safi with him this time instead of Dutcho. Maybe that'll help.
I thought that it was going to be a race at the top of the stretch, that Saudi Crown was going to do something, and he folded up the lawn chair and sat down at the top of the stretch. I thought Guns Loaded actually ran decent, like better than I expected. I'll put it that way. I thought it wasn't a terrible race out of Guns Loaded either.
Who?
Oh, not Guns Loaded. Why am I thinking Guns Loaded? Locked. Sorry, Locked.
We're going to talk about Guns Loaded later.
We'll get there in a second. Yeah, but Locked I thought ran pretty well too, and I was against Locked that day. So good on Locked. I will probably still fade him if he's a short price again.
Well, that he did what I expected him to do, which was run well and not overcome the post position. So he did that. Yeah. So I think, one try at 2 turns. I think we even said this last week during the show. Give him one more try at 2 turns and hope for a better post / setup there. Then you got to break and hard turn left kind of a thing. So he's a fun horse. We'll see what they do with him. Shotty's right. Never getting that price on Wagering again unless he goes through another 1.5 year long drought of just poop.
Well, I was just talking about Spirit of St. Louis was 20-1 moving line, ends up going off at 8-1. It's a horse that looked I remember again Belmont Day like 2 years ago looked so awesome, but it had not stepped out against non-New York breds and run well yet. And then the Chad Brown magic works there at Gulfstream, and Spirit of St. Louis gets home in a contested race there at a decent price. 20-1 would have been incredible. 8-1, obviously not nearly as good.
That was a race where he had so much, I call it muddied form because he'd been racing so much in New York because he's a New York bred. And, he had one win against Open Company against allowance horses. Then he tried an extremely tough mile race at grade 1 at Keeneland. It's like, okay, he was overmatched there. But yeah, great effort from him. Tyler Gaffalione had 3 wins on the day. And I think Tyler's going to have another big Saturday this coming weekend. And on that note, Mike, let's get into it. It's the Gulfstream Park Late Pick 5. Saturday, February 1st, we got the Holy Bull Stakes, a race that last year our boy Rocket Can won. See if we can get another horse to win this. I think this will be our 3rd straight year of trying to win the Holy Bull Stakes in the Fantasy League. So trying to make some history here.
It's our race, baby.
Right is it. Yeah, I'm looking back. Here's who won it. So we've had 3 of the last 5 winners. We had Tiz the Law in 2020. We had Wagering in 2022. We had Rocket Can in 2023. I forgot about a horse named Hades last year.
No, but it's fine. You can forget Hades. That's okay. That horse was I still don't know how that horse held on. That was the first of the fierceness flops.
Yeah. And might not be the last either. But here we go. First leg of the Late Pick 5, Saturday, February 1st at Gulfstream Park, race 8. It's the only non-stakes race, but if you look at who's in here, this very well could be a stakes even listed. 12 older males, one also eligible, going 1 mile and 3/8 on the grass, and big optional claiming event here. Where'd you go on top?
Yeah, kind of unique distance here. We're going to start right before that turn, so post position obviously matters quite a bit, and that affected whether or not I used one specific horse. We'll get to it in a second here, but I went with Lantharis on top here, the 2-horse, and this is as close to a single as I got in this sequence. Clearly, I think has to be the favorite. Ran well a couple times for Mott in New York, ran at Gulfstream Park last time. Didn't get the best trip in that race. And I think you got to go back and kind of watch that. If you are against Lantharis, then make a decision whether or not you believe that was a clean trip or not there. Should get a better trip out of the 2-post. Has some early foot, like not much, but at least enough that I don't think you're going to get a bad spot here on the front stretch and then around that far, the first turn and then to the back stretch. So I ended up with Lantharis on top. I thought that was the, we'll call it the easy pick. And then after that, I thought this race got very muddied very quickly. Where'd you end up on top?
I agree wholeheartedly, and that's all the agreement we're going to have in this race, because I went 5 deep, but I did put Lantharis on top. I went price hunting after that, but I think you nailed it with that trip last out. He had run through the turn, but there was a horse that got the jump on him that went outside, and he couldn't. Alvarado didn't want to go to the grandstand with the horse. He didn't have room to do it, and he just got stuck waiting on horses, and he probably would have, without that last bit where he had the horse coming back to him right in front of him, he probably could have been third, even with the traffic trouble there. But then the horse just stopping right in front of him, Alvarado at that point just gave up and just goes, "Oh, F it." But second off the bench. By the way, the first two, he's a French bred, and his first 2 races in North America going long at Saratoga and Aqueduct. So some big, the heavy hitters were right there, and he was second in a photo in each of those spots. So all these things to like about him. Tyler Gaffleone hops aboard. You got to love that as well. Second choice for me, I went with the number 5, Harry Hood, who's 20-1 on the morning line. And this is a play hoping that he gets back to where he was at this point last year, because last year he was in the 1.5 mile grade 2 Pan American. He lost that by a nose with Johnny V up. Johnny V keeps them out. Last time out, bad draw, bad break, 0 favors done for this horse. But I'm hoping that he can return back to that form that we saw last year at the Championship at Gulfstream, where he was really competitive and almost won a grade 2 event.
Yeah, going to be interested to see where this horse is placed. If this is because we've seen Harry Hood on the lead. We've seen him trying to come from way behind. I would prefer if Velasquez uses a little bit more early and possibly even tries to get to the front. Because there isn't like a clear, this horse is going to make the lead. I have one that I think will. That's going to be my next pick, so I'll get to it in a second here. But the positioning of Harry Hood, I think, is going to be very, very interesting. I would much rather him be in contention early versus, sitting in 9th, 10th place, somewhere like that.
Where did you go for your second spot?
I went to the outside of him. I went to Tennessee Lamb, and this is a speed play for me. I went back and forth on trying to figure out, okay, who's going to make the lead, and Tennessee Lamb has shown speed, and most of the races are on dirt here, which makes it a little more difficult. But this is a horse that kind of improved throughout the 2024 season. The first 2 efforts were on the grass. Those weren't his best, but then gets over to the dirt and gets a little bit better, gets a little bit better, gets a little bit better. I think it's interesting that George Arnold decides to say, hey, we're going to try this turf thing again. And Saez jumps back aboard. So you got a rider who clearly wants to send the horse a little bit more. And you've got a trainer who is now trying this horse on the turf for the 3rd time, because his second career start also going 2 turns on the turf. So clearly something in the morning is saying, hey, this is a turf horse, like that work two back there. One of a bullet of the 23 workers that day, 46-3. So showing some speed there. It just feels like a horse that kind of had to run into himself, had to kind of grow into himself and learn what he was doing. And we saw specifically the last race where he goes 1 mile and 3/16 over the slop. We always talk about how slop can often mean the horse has some turf foot in him. And that was the race where we saw the best from Tennessee Lamb, able to go to win that race pretty easily, was forwardly placed early. That was also first time blinkers. So I have a little bit of a hope that blinkers helped him step forward here, and is able to put it all together going along on the turf. And it's Gulfstream Park, and we're on the turf. You want the horse that's in the lead. I think Tennessee Lamb is going to be that horse. I think the distance helped. I think the jockey helped. So we're going to go the 6 Tennessee Lamb, 15-1 is my second pick in the race.
Man, this horse, I went back and forth. I ended up leaving off because if you look at the rest of the Dams family, there's just the Dam was a winner on debut on turf, but the 3 siblings in the race, they've all won. None of them have won on turf. They've all been kind of dirt horses. Dak Daniels, not Jack Daniels, but the horse named Dak Daniels is a sibling, and a really good, fun horse to watch out there. If Tennessee Lambs wins, I'll just go, okay, I got caught there. None of the turf efforts give me any kind of excitement, but maybe second time blinkers, like you mentioned. He is going to be first time facing winners. That was another knock I had on him, but Saez stays on, and the 3 dirt races with Saez, they were all going 2 turns, mile and a quarter, mile and 3/16. So distance, yes. Speed, something you want at Gulfstream. And maybe he can do it. None of the turf efforts have inspired me so far, but this could be a big breakout performance for him.
Yeah, it's one of those where if this horse is 5-1, he's not on the ticket. At 15-1, it's like, okay, yes. I'm willing to give it the benefit of the doubt that you're going to be able to see some turf come through. You're right. Like you go through the family, and it's not inspiring on the turf side, and so you got to hope that Arnold is right here, and that like, hey, we're keep going back to the turf for a reason. We just won as a short favorite going long on the dirt, and yet here we are. Seasonal debut back on the turf in a spot that's, like you said, this could be an overnight stakes race, and so because of that, it just shows me the confidence that I believe Arnold has, and so we'll see if I'm right around the 6 Tennessee Lamb. Who's your third horse on the ticket, Magic?
I went to the 8 Thomas Aquinas. There was Aquinas College is what everybody called it in Michigan, but that might have just been Michigan pronunciation. But this is a horse that I thought showed nice steady improvement last fall. Ended up his last start going 9 furlongs at Churchill Downs, just a neck to feet there. He's going to be running first off the layoff since November. He's, first time gelding, so he's going to be a little more aerodynamic, and he's had 3 strong recent works. Something you'll notice with a lot of these horses in the PPs, if you look at their workouts, in the middle of January, that Palm Meadows turf course was like Los Alamitos' dirt track. This horse, for example, 47-3 on the Palm Meadows turf. You'd be like, wow, that's fast. He was 16th fastest going 47-3. So there's a couple other horses in this race that they've got those lightning fast works in like the middle of January at Palm Meadows. Discount that. A horse like the 3 Classic Creation. Here's another example. January 26, 4 days ago. 47-1. Holy smokes, he's fine. 22nd fastest. Something's going on over there, and I don't know how much. So I'm hoping that the fact that the 8's most recent work, which was 58-2, and that was second fastest of 41. I'm like, that was a 5 furlongs, dash instead of 4 like the other horse. Maybe that's a better sign, but still, it's fast. I just think that he was trending up, and this is the logical spot to put him back at Gulfstream Park. And Ian Wilkes, not bad off the layoff, 14%. Don't love Luca Panici in a race like this in the championship meet, but he can do worse.
Yeah, you could. And the fact that Brian Hernandez Jr. rode this horse for a while, also a positive. When you're in Kentucky and he's on your horse, usually it means it's got a shot there. I looked at this one quite a bit as well. If you look at the 3 races that are 1 1/8 or longer, and you just kind of focus in on those 3, he was forward in all of those races. And it's the mile races where he was way back in the pack. And so you'd think that Thomas Aquinas, in a race where, again, not a ton of pace here, would be one of those horses that's going to get a pretty good position around the turn for the first time. Third horse and last horse on for me here, the 1 horse Rambling Wreck. Second off the layoff here for Danny Gargan. Vasquez picks up the mount. And this is a horse that was competitive at Backwood, Saratoga, and that New York circuit in the N1X allowance level. Never able to get his picture taken, but quite a few pictures that he was involved in, running second a couple times, just missing. Now we stretch out back to the mile and 3/8 distance. Done it once before. That was the first time that he was running in that N1X Open Company up in New York. Was the favorite that day. Got a pretty rough trip. I thought still ran pretty good. And this is one where, like, just on a numbers play, if you look at time form, if you look at buyers, he's there, if not better than the majority of this field. I also like the post of drawing the 1 here, since we are so close to that first turn. I think it'll allow him to be a little bit more forwardly placed than what we've seen. And one of the other things that I think is interesting here, like if you look at his Gulfstream race last time out, opening quarter 22-3. If you look at the Backwood races, the previous 3, all 23 opening quarters, those are pretty fast. And I think that was a lot of the reason why he was so far back. I don't think Rambling Wreck going to be as far back with both the post and the stretch out. So like the 1 Rambling Wreck is the third horse on the ticket for me.
I went back and forth and ended up throwing this one off. Good angles. I'm not sure about going this far because his sire, just like his grandsire, Spitestown Reedsdale Sprinter route racing, that not especially going longer than a mile. His horses don't do very well. He's got a Lemon Drop Kid on the bottom side that could help, but I also didn't like that again, no shot to Miguel Vasquez, but this is the championship meet, and Gargan's a big enough trainer in New York that you couldn't get. Well, Johnny V's already committed, but you couldn't get Tyler. You couldn't get Irad. Like, Irad's on a horse that he never rides for John Terranova, and he's going to be on the 3 that neither of us are using. And instead, you're kind of left with Vasquez because who else is left?
Yeah, the 3 is a little surprising. I mean, Gaffleon was never getting off the 2 if you got the option, right? And
That's
so that one doesn't bother me. But the Irad on the 3, who neither of us are using, that was a little bit interesting. Johnny V, I think, would be another one that you could think you would get on Harry Hood, but that was pretty clear that he was going to stay there. Same with Tennessee Lamb and Saya. So, like, all of the jockeys that I would think would end up on the 1 are kind of spoken for.
That's true.
And so I didn't see that as big of a knock, the fact that you're getting Vasquez on here. I also like Vasquez, usually at a better price than 5-1, but I do think he's one of those jockeys that handles Gulfstream well, even in the championships meet.
You got to think 5-1 is going to go up, right? I was surprised when I saw 5-1. That seemed really short. So maybe like 8-1. Yeah.
He got bet in all of those races in New York. That's the thing. Like, he was only 6-1 or higher one time in his career outside of the first race.
And he almost won.
Yeah. So it's like, it's one of those spots where it feels like this horse takes money every time, but doesn't win. Generally not a great pick 5 horse. So we'll see if it works out here. But I thought we were gonna get like 8-1, somewhere in that range here. Cause I also think the 2 goes off at what, 2-1, 8-5, somewhere in that range.
Yeah. The 2 is going to be unplayable as a win bet, that's for sure. I used 2 more. I'll go through them real quick. The number 9, Il Siciliano at 20-1 was 5th last time out in the common race that the 2 Lentharis was in, where he finished 6th with that bad trip. Kid Cairo, who's the 12th horse in here, he finished 3rd in that race. So Il Siciliano was between the 2 of them there, and he had the worst of the draws. He had to be way out in the parking lot for that early draw. The bad news is he doesn't really draw much better. It's 1 post to the inside. He's going to need some scratches to help him out there. But he's got a jockey now in Miso Jaramillo who's a lot more aggressive early with his horses. So I think this horse will at least be pushed out of the gate quite a bit. David Egan has done better this year. I think definitely done better this year than he was doing last year at the championship meet. But he's not an aggressive rider. So I think Jaramillo being aboard is going to help. I also couldn't overlook the fact that Jaramillo with Sano are 6 for 14, 43%, a $4.76 ROI. So they're winning at a 43% clip and still not getting bet. And I think that'll be the same thing with the 9. So I went looking for prices. I went with the 9 here as well. And then I did throw Kid Cairo on. I almost left him off, but the way that my ticket was structured here, I could afford to go 5 deep in here. I think this horse is really talented. 2 best buyers, they've both been on this turf. He's got to overcome being in post 12. And that was the kicker for Kid Cairo. And a big reason why at 92, probably why a lot of people, yourself included, are not using him.
Yeah, the post and the price. That was for me the big issue. If you look at the last race, drew post 4, got a pretty good trip in a race where we were talking about a bunch of rough trips. Kid Cairo got a pretty clean one. And now we're stuck all the way on the outside here, which is going to make it much more difficult to work out a trip, especially if he wants to be anywhere near the front. And generally, he only wants to be a couple lengths behind. It's, not completely out of it, but wants to be relatively close. And if you're drawing the 12, you want to be relatively close. That feels like it's going to be a problem around that first turn. And then where do you end up? How much ground do you have to give up to get too wide into that second turn? That's the big question on Kid Cairo for me, and that's why he ended up off my ticket. I almost put the 10 Steadfast Resolve on the ticket. This is a interesting horse just from a talent perspective. I mean, this was one that was in the maiden 40 level, 2 back. Irad Ortiz rides, gets the win coming from just downtown, but was the 12 of 12 post that day at Aqueduct, stretches out to 1 mile and 1/8 next time out, 12th out of the break, broke from the 10 post and just comes flying home late again. Not This Time horse. We've talked about how we love Not This Time, both dirt, both turf, everything. If the 10 drew the 1, I probably would be playing the 10 instead of the 1. But because the 10 drew the 10, it's a little bit more difficult. However, over the last 2 races, he's been able to work out a trip and get to the front. Stepping up in class quite a bit here, though, first time out in this form cycle.
Yeah, the class is what left him off for me. The 82 buyer last out fits with a lot of these horses, but an improvement first time as a 4-year-old, he definitely would be right there with him. But he went to maiden 75 company and couldn't get the job done. And then he had to drop to maiden 40. And I'm impressed that nobody bought this horse for $40,000. It's a Not This Time. You could do a lot of damage with a Not This Time if you buy it for $40,000. I think Rapoli got lucky that nobody took that horse. So a class play against for me with that horse, but an intriguing run. I wouldn't be shocked to see this horse fill out the Trier Super at all.
Yeah, I don't love, because it's just a dead closer on Gulfstream's course without a ton of pace in a bad post. All of those things just kind of line up against the 10. But I wouldn't be shocked, like you said, if this is one at a price that kind of gets you home, and would be one that I would be considering using in tournaments here if I'm not using the 6.
Thank you for continuing to talk there. I was sitting on a sneeze for the last 30 seconds before I got it out there. Teamwork. All right, let's move on to the second leg of the late pick 5 at Gulfstream Park on Saturday, January 1st. Race 9 is the Swale Stakes. 7 furlongs, the distance for 3-year-old colts, and not horses that are on the Kentucky Derby trail yet, but you could see the winner, maybe a couple horses come out of this and try a Derby prep next. Where'd you go on top?
I went with the long shot and the short price strategy here in this race, and the short price ended up on top for me. I went with the 6 Gunmetal as my pick here. This is a Brad Cox horse, sold for $410,000. I thought looked awesome at Fairgrounds, got a 96 buyer that day. Now we're coming back, second out in his career for this Gunrunner's son, and he should have no issues with the added distance, with the extra furlong here, stretching out from 6 to 7. Has tactical speed, but didn't need the lead that day. I don't think needs the lead this day. If you look at that race too, there were 10 horses. Gunmetal wins by a length and a quarter over Power Prime, who's 7 1/4 clear of the third place horse, who is 4 3/4 clear of the rest of the field. So clearly 3 horses distance themselves from the rest of that field. It makes that win look a little bit better than it already did on paper. And when I looked at the 7 Grayscale and the 6 Gunmetal, the 2 horses that are shorter prices here, I liked the 6 more than the 7 on debuts. Not only that, not only how he did it, but when he did it as well. You always talk about, the Gulfstream Park debuts that aren't Champions Meet, and then they come back in Champions Meet, and you're facing a lot better horses. That all kind of plays true here to Grayscale in my mind. So Gunmetal on top for me as the chalk, and then I'm going to go with a price in second. Who's your top pick?
Oh, it's Gunmetal. He and Prime Power were 8.5 lengths clear in a 10-horse field. That's huge. Prime Power runs Sunday at Oaklawn Park in a maiden special weight going 2 turns. He came in with a ton of hype into that race. He was the big heavy favorite there, and I think is absolutely going to win at probably 2 to 5 at Oaklawn on Sunday. He also get a huge jockey upgrade to Luis Saez. Cox had said that he was considering the Holy Bull for this horse, except Brad Cox and Luis Saez have another horse in the Holy Bull that they both really like. So he's like, we'll stay here and then figure out what this horse can do from here. He's got Spitestown as the dam sire, so that makes me wonder really how far he wants to run in terms of Derby preps. But 7 furlongs, absolutely, I think this horse rolls. I didn't go long shot shopping like you did. I almost did, and not the horse you were considering, but I ended up using the 2 Donut God as my second horse in here.
Great name.
Donut God's a great name. I will let you know, spoiler alert, Saturday FanDuel, there's going to be lots of donut talk about, not just from me, but like literally they're prepping all sorts of they asked talent what their favorite donuts were. By the way, what's your favorite donut?
I mean, I'm simple, man. Just give me a glazed. Okay. I actually like donut holes the most from Dunkin' Donuts. Loved those things. The chocolate glaze is phenomenal. But it's big donut hole guy. Did you ever see the Sonic movies?
The first 2. I haven't seen the new one, but I like the first 2. Yeah. Strong
Donut Lord sweatshirt in the 3rd movie. So that would be another one. If you want to wear that to work on Saturday, that would probably be a good laugh.
My answer is always apple fritter. You give me a choice between any donut and an apple fritters on the table, that thing's gone.
That's a pretty foofy answer.
I'm a pretty foofy guy. Listen, Donut God. Okay, so there's a lot of holes to poke in this horse, but I think
I see what you did there.
There's a ton of speed. Thank you. There's a ton of speed in this race, right? Like you look, the 1 blinkers go back on. The one time the horse raced without blinkers didn't go to the lead. The 3 doesn't have any speed. The 4 likes to go to the front. The 6 likes to be on the front. The 7, the 1 race was on the front, though he broke 7th out of the gate in a field of 9 there. So he's kind of rushed up. There's a lot of speed. The 2 Donut God has only been on the lead at each point of call in his races, but Brian Lynch has been working him since the inaugural stakes that he won on December 7th. He's been working him behind horses, and you see how fast some of those times are. So he's going after horses, and he's posting 47-3, 59-2 splits. I think that this horse is sitting on an effort if he can rate. It's an if. He's got to answer that question on Saturday, but you get Tyler Gaffalione aboard, who is 5 for 8 at Gulfstream riding for Lynch. He's 6 for 11 riding for Lynch overall. Huge ROI returns on those. And because of the 6 and 7, and this horse is actually going to be a playable price in here. So I went 6 and 2 in here, though we're both absolutely against the 7. I hate the 7. The 7 beats me. Fine, whatever. That's a horse I'm against every single time.
Yeah, I'm fine with getting beat by the 7 as well. My random comment, random story time here. Closest I ever came to being arrested, actually at a Dunkin' Donuts. There was so the Dunkin' Donuts gave pretty much all the donuts away in my hometown at midnight, and so you would go at midnight. And it was the summer after my college year, or after my freshman year in college. We're all back home, maybe or maybe not doing things you're not supposed to be doing as 18-year-olds. And we decided to head to Dunkin' Donuts, and one of my friends forgot to put pants on, and the police were there when we got to Dunkin' Donuts, and none of us realized he didn't have pants on until the police were like, "Hey, what are you?" And there was some running involved. Luckily, everyone got away, and I think we're past the statute of limitations for being intoxicated in public. So,
it's 10 years.
We're good there. Yeah, we're fine there. Price for me here. Give me the 3 horse at 20-1. Maitre D. This is a Doug O'Neill horse. John Velasquez takes the mount. Look, Doug O'Neill pulls this shit off. Like, that's one of the main reasons. He shipped horses in, and you're like, wait a second, what? How did that horse win? Well, you mentioned the speed. I'm just going with the, what if everyone just collapses because this is 7 furlongs and you want a horse that's going to be able to come from off the pace? I think Major D is one of those horses that is the opportunity to be able to do that. This is a game winner, son of game winner out of a Munnings mare. So love the pedigree here from a sprinting perspective, especially going the 7. Debuted at Turfway Park at 6.5 furlongs. Really tough distance to debut at, especially at Turfway Park. Has a wide post, was wide the whole race, still able to get up and win at 26-1. And then Doug O'Neill says, you know what? Let's just go into this race. Like, it's like, all right, Doug, if you want to go for it, go for it. Run in the Swale. And it feels like there's a little more talent than what we've seen. Like I said, love the fact that the Velasquez picks up the mount here and showed a very interesting race to be able to win first out, sitting like essentially 5 wide in 4th place, and then able to make a move. I'm going to see if I can get a crazy horse to pick up the pieces here, because I do think the speed is very much going to be on here, and Major D is the one that's coming from off the pace. So I'm just going to go 3-6 to try and get through here.
I'm not going to knock it because you nailed it with that first comment. Doug O'Neill pulls this shit off, and you just sit there. All right, he got me. The long shot I had considered was the 5 Gate to Wire, which is an ironic name because this horse is never on the lead early. But he's another one that kind of has shown that he at times likes to pass. He's coming out of 5-6 furlong races. He might actually be a little more forwardly placed, but it was Dylan Davis picking this mountain, Pletcher deciding here that like, oh, we're going to try dirt with this horse now. Maybe it wasn't enough for me to get excited about it, but I could, the 5, maybe. No, not maybe.
Well, I mean, you knew the Pletcher barn liked this horse just because, like, off the maiden breaking score, jumps into the Grade P Futurity, jumps into the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint. So, like, clearly a lot was thought about this horse, but then it was weird. Like, they're coming back on synthetic seemed weird to me. Like, why are we running back on synthetic? And Velasquez rode that day, yet he's not riding back here. I mean, there's just enough of those, like, well, I think the barn thinks he's good, but in there that I couldn't get to him at 12-1.
The 3rd leg of the late pick 5 at Gulfstream Park on Saturday, February 1st. The Kittens Joy Stakes. It's race number 10. 8 3-year-old Colton Gelding is going 1 mile and a 16th on the lawn. And there are some offspring, either sire or dam side, of the great Kittens Joy in here. Where'd you go on top?
I thought this was a pretty tough race. On top for me, I'm going to go with our, son of a friend here, Tiz Dashing, the 4-horse, 5-2, your favorite. So not getting too creative with this first one here. Ran well last time out in the overnight stakes at Aqueduct. Ends up running second in a field of 8. Had every chance to win, got the lead, and just kind of couldn't finish the job there. Lost to what I believe, I'm going to go ahead just guessing by the name Valuation Metric, was a Chad Brown horse of Klarovich stable. So it ran into some pretty good company, improved quite a bit. That was first time going 2 turns. Should have the opportunity to improve second time going 2 turns. And has some tactical speed. So I think a lot going right here for Tiz Dashing, who's going to make the seasonal debut here.
I didn't want to play this horse off the layoff. And this is another one we talked about it in race 8, where you see some horses that are going. You didn't mention it, but I'll mention it. Horses going lightning quick at Palmetto's going 4 furlongs. It went 46 and 3, and he was 13th fastest. Like, what the hell was? I'm going to look it up. What the hell was the fastest time for 4 furlongs on the turf? Because that's ridiculous. Let's see if I can find it. 45.35 for 4 furlongs on turf. Tell me you can't clock without telling me you can't clock. That's terrible. Like, what?
That's fast. That's fast. And it's interesting too, because like the 58-1 a week, or I guess 11 days earlier, that gets the bullet. But like the 46-3, nope, not even close.
Anyways, it's Barkley tag off the layoff. I know he's having a good meet here. 5 stars. He's got a win in 3/3. So his horse is running well. And you've got Johnny V staying aboard. But it's the layoff. I think next time out, I think you play this horse, but at 5-2 as the favorite, at least morning line wise, I didn't want to play the 4.
That's fair. I thought that it set up very well for the 4. And you can make knocks on Barkley too, 7% off the layoff. But he is 17% in stakes races, although small sample size, just 6 races. So there's different things going positive and negative for the 4. I like the positives more than the negatives. Second horse on for me here. I was Walking in Memphis, the 5 horse. This is the sheer gate to wire play. Also love the song. So that's a positive as well. Harmio gets back aboard for Cassie here. And there are 3 speed horses in this race, right? The 2, Charlie's to Blame, the 5, Walking in Memphis, and the 8, Mi Baggio here. I think the 5 is the fastest of the bunch. Went 22-4 opening quarter when winning on debut at 1 16th over the Gulfstream Park turf course. 47 to the half. The 2 horse when going gate to wire at 1 mile at Del Mar, which is generally a faster track than Gulfstream, just from a splits perspective, goes 23, 47, and 4. So I'm hoping that the 5 makes the lead. And people kind of back off because they think he's not very good, which we often see with some of these bigger prices where it's like, oh, well, we're going to be able to get him late. I'm not so sure they're able to get him late. I actually thought it was pretty impressive for him to win on debut, going that fast, that early, and then being able to still kind of hang out late and be able to run home in what I thought was a fairly good time. He went 110-4 to 6 furlongs. That's fast. And to be able to then get home still going sub 6s for the race, I thought was good enough to include here. So taking a little bit of a shot. And this one's well bred too. Son of War of Will, obviously Warfront, the grandsire then, and more than ready on the bottom. So well bred for the turf. We'll see if Walking in Memphis can walk him right from the gate to the wire.
Gun to your head, could you name the singer of that song? Because I couldn't. I had to look it up.
Walking in Memphis. It's not someone who is it's not a known singer.
Correct. This is by count, it's his only hit that he's had.
No, I can't. You'll say it. I'm going to be pissed. I couldn't remember.
Mark Cohn.
Yep. Yeah. Now, yeah.
Sure.
I used to absolutely blast that song when I was I had a Toyota convertible, Toyota MR2 Spider that I got in like 2000.
Okay.
Loved driving that thing around. I would blast Walking in Memphis and Life is a Highway. Love those 2 jams.
There you go.
Yeah.
Walking in Memphis, I could see that like playing as a soundtrack while there's like footage of you and your friends scattering from Dunkin' Donuts.
We were running more than walking, but yeah, that could happen.
Listen, the 5 is a sneaky one in here. If I went a little deeper, I would probably use the 6th and 9th place horses from that debut effort, but both won next out. The 6th place horse got a 77 buyer in the win. So a 77 buyer you think would be able to put that horse right in contention here. Top pick for me goes right to the outside of that runner. One of the horses that you used as well as the 6th test score for Graham Motion, who's 0 for 23 at the meet. Yeah, it's a tough meet when Graham Motion's going 0 for 23. Gets Tyler Gaffley on the board. They're actually 0 for 9 together. Another one that's shocking, but you look at this horse, who he's been facing, second on debut in a sprint at Saratoga. They go routing in the grade 3 with anticipation, likely because they couldn't get a turf route made.
Nope. Did you mute yourself? Well, Magic's waiting here. Well, I use test score as well. I use the 6 here, and I'm guessing it's for a lot of the same reasons. First off the bench here, after running at Del Mar, running at Keeneland, going a mile in both of those distances. Entered in the with anticipation, I thought was interesting off of a 2nd place in a maiden race. That was to Governor Sam, who's one of the very good sprinter early on in his career. Jumps up to the with anticipation. I thought ran well enough in that start. then cuts back to the mile, gets the job done in the maiden special weight, then goes to the mile race, lost to Chasing Liberty by a neck, who was able to win off of that effort. Should get the right setup today as well. That's a big part of the test score here. Is the test score should be able to sit, fifth, sixth in this spot and be able to make one big run. You'd think that he's going to be able to have a chance at getting it done there. And yes, Motion and Gaffleon. Motion struggled with me. Gaffleon struggled on Motion horses. Both very good. Like Gaffleon still 18% for the meet, even though he's getting offered with Motion. And Motion, one of those guys that you kind of have to respect every time he puts something on the track. So 6 makes a ton of sense for me. It was the third horse on for me, Magic.
So yeah, I'm gonna have to junk that light. It keeps over frying the USB port, so that's what caused it. Everything USB connect, including my mouse, went down. Anyways, that Thoroughbred Aftercare Alliance Stakes, you've had 5 horses exit that race that have won. Not just one, they won stakes races. 5 next out stakes winners. You do not have that kind of a race. It's crazy. And one of them was Kale Zanja, who was 11th that day and got a 93 buyer for winning a dirt sprint after that. So lots of things to like about the 6. The other one that we agreed on is the 3, Maui Strong, 8-1, who's my second choice in here. Can you believe? Okay, so Grand Motion's over 23. Dale Romans is 36%. What's going on? It's Gulfstream Park. It's a championship meet in Gulfstream. Going to Gulfstream. It is a horse that if everything plays out speed-wise, pace-wise, he's going to get the right setup. It's just a question of if he gets the cleanest trip with Junior Alvarez. It's not a shot Junior. It's just he's going to be coming from the clouds and he's going to have to work out the right trip. But, the buyers in 4 stars, each one of them has gone up. The Dania Beach, it was on synthetic, but it was supposed to be on turf. So ignore, Romans' 0 for 10 synthetic to turf move because he wasn't supposed to be there. And the comments say washy. I went and watched it, and you can tell without knowing which post he broke from, you can instantly tell the chestnut that looks like he just took a bath and forgot to wash off the soap. It's like when Colson does this now, where like he washes his hands and he puts them under he puts a bunch of soap on and then puts his hands under for half a second and pulls back. He's like, I'm done. I'm like, your hands are covered in like foam. That was Maui Strong in that race, and he still rallied to get third in that race. I mean, he should have just quit and been last throughout, but he wasn't.
Yeah, and Dale Roman's number's not updated. He won the opener today at Gulfstream Park as well with Alvarado aboard. So that's now going to go to 6 for 15 for Romans at the meet with another 4 horses in the money. So just a phenomenal meet so far for Dale Romans. This was another one where like that race 2 back at Churchill breaks the maiden 12 horse field at Churchill in the 12 of 12 post. And they didn't exactly fly. 49-3, 114-2. It's the 6 furlongs. Yet they do the mile in 137-2. That's a 23-second close to that race. And yet we still see a horse in Maui Strong be able to come from off the pace to win. That's really tough to do. So I thought that was very impressive for what Maui Strong did. 2 back at Churchill going that mile. And I mentioned there's 3 speed here. It's likely 2 or more hook up, right? And if they do, then you're going to have a pace to chase here, and at the price at 8-1 on Maui Strong, I thought was too good to pass up in this spot. So I ended up going 4 deep in an 8-horse race here. Went 3, 4, 5, 6 to try and get through here.
I went 4 deep as well, and you used 1 Cassie. I used the other 2. The 7 Coco Cool is the 3rd horse for me. Won the debut going 6.5 furlongs on this turf at Woodbine, which was a pretty nice effort. It was first time Lasix, is not getting Lasix again here, but did come out of that race to win at Turfway Park. I thought that was an interesting spot. He won by a head over a horse named Baby Max, who won the Leonidas Stakes with a 79 buyer next out. So I thought that, so they got 65 buyers for that race, but Coco Cool had a 79 buyer before that, and the horse that he barely beat got a 79 next time out. So I thought that was a nice sign there. But how about Irad Ortiz hopping aboard? When he rides for Cassie at Gulfstream, 31% winners, 258 ROI, and this horse can be going second time long. That can be a big improvement angle for a horse. So you can say that about a lot of horses in here, but I think this horse is definitely one with Omaha Beach as a sire and Curlin as the dam sire can absolutely take a step forward here. And then I also put the 8 Mibago on, who's 4-1. And this is a horse the last 2 starts went gate to wire, but he drew post 2 in the Pulpit. He drew post 3 in the Dania Beach. Like, he kind of had to go. If you look at the Algonquin Stakes, I know it was a turf sprint, but back on October 5th, the first of 3 stakes races that he won, he actually had to show that he could pass horses. And he did that on the inner turf, which is not nearly as long of a stretch as it is as the outer turf there. So I like that he did show he can pass horses if he needs to. And he comes out of the same race that my top pick test score, who you're also using, comes out of, where he didn't have the cleanest of trips in this stretch. But again, 5 horses have run out of that. He's one of them that won stakes next out. So a very key race. He's been backing that up here. I put him on here hoping that Dylan Davis, who's 24% riding for Cassie and having a lights out meet, I'm hoping that that's a horse that can stalk a little bit and then get the job done.
Yeah, I'm more scared of the 7 than the 8. The Del Mar race would be the one I would point to if I were you, if I'm trying to back the 8 here, because he had some trouble there as well. Like he just was not clean around the first turn, and then around in the stretch did not have running room late, and so it really affected where his final position of it. But I do think Mibaggio is going to do his best running on the front end, and I think there's zero chance the 8 gets the lead. Like I either the 2 or the 5 goes, and so to me it's just it's a 2 wide or 3 wide trip all the way around. And that at Gulfstream is a trip of death there on that turf course. Coco Cool is a little scary to me. You mentioned the IRAD factor, second off the layoff, second time going 2 turns. You mentioned the Omaha Beach curling combo. Omaha Beach stands for $35,000. This horse sells for $325,000. So clearly some expectations around the 7 as well. That to me is a little bit more of the wild card of the 2. So if I was going to choose between, I would choose the 7 over the 8.
Let's move on to the penultimate leg of the Late Pick 5, Saturday, February 1st at Gulfstream Park. Race number 11, the Grade 3 Holy Bull Stakes, a mile and a 16th for 7 3-year-old colts and geldings. Kentucky Derby points on the line in here. And we talked about the 3 Tappan Street before. Tappan Street is, according to Brad Cox, the reason why Gunmetal is in the Swale and not in this spot instead. Same jockey trainer combination, same kind of situation where this horse on debut, he was a good looking horse. Did you put him on top?
I did. I put the 3 Tappan Street on top here. I thought that debut was so impressive, being able to kind of angle and then just get around horses, and then be the closing speed I thought was really impressive. Made up over 4.5 lengths in the final from the second call to the final call there. So it just showed a lot of kick late. Has a ton of speed early too, though. This is 121 early time form pace rating, so very, very fast horse early, but still also able to kick it in gear. Debuted at 7 furlongs. I think that's a positive for a horse that's going longer. This is $1 million purchase for Windstar and CCH and all that jazz. Like one of those combo horses with a bunch of the big names. I'm surprised that Tappan Street's the 3rd pick on the morning line. I think Tappan Street goes off as the favorite. This is one of those morning lines that was head scratching to me.
Yeah, I agree on that. I think that which is a shame, because I think we're both trying to beat the 2 horse Ferocious, right?
I used the 2.
Oh, you did use the, okay.
Yeah, I did not use the 4 of the favorites. Yeah.
I think based off of, dual grade 1 placing, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile continues to not, thank you gaming, continues to be a bad race coming out of it, for horses coming out of it. So yeah, the 9 to 5, maybe that's playing off the class, but recency says the 3 should be favored. Top pick for me as well, 4th and 8th place horses from that 12 horse field on debut. They both won next out. 4 of the 5 horses that have run out of that race, run back, improved their buyers. Second place, Bob Moe. He was the only one that regressed, but everybody behind that tells me maybe Bob Moe just got lucky that day. Everybody else has improved out of that race. So yeah, same thing for me, top pick. And then I put the 4 Guns Loaded in as well. I know we lose Sias to Tappan Street. I say we because Guns Loaded is on our fantasy team, but I gotta believe that this horse is bred for 2 turns. I know that closing time in the Mucho Macho Man was horrible. The 79 buyer deserved because of how he had a 3-length lead at the top of the stretch, and freaking Treaty of Rome comes and catches him, almost catches him. If you're a gallop out person like Shoddy, he did win the gallop out. He re-engaged and kept going. I thought, the connections out of that. D'Angelo said he thought the horse was just waiting for somebody to come and get him. I joked with you off air before the show. I was like, maybe he was waiting for the wire because he was like running out of gas. But you're getting Irad. And if there's one jockey that you can trust will not let a horse stop trying as hard as he can, it's Irad. Like, that is a strong finishing jockey. And there's a chance, because of the other speed in here, that he doesn't go to the lead, which would also be a very Irad thing to do. But then, hey, maybe we see what he can do if he needs to go and get somebody. So I put him on here, but I understand the reservations. That win 2 back at Churchill was unbelievable. He backed it up with a stakes win. I know it was a neck win, but he backed it up with a stakes win last out. So I'll give him one more try here. Guns Loaded.
Yeah. And like should be able to get the distance from a breeding perspective. Like it's not like the extra 16th of a mile should be a problem, but when you watch that race, man, it looks like an extra 16th of a mile is going to be a big problem for Guns Loaded. It had everything his own way early. It went 112 to the 6 furlongs and just kind of slowed down and like I get it, maybe he's waiting for somebody, but you can't wait for someone when the water gets deeper, and the water gets deeper here. And that yes. to me is scary, where it's like, okay, cool. You had a 3-length lead. This isn't Treaty Rome that's chasing you. Like these are legit horses that are going to be chasing you this time. I think Guns Loaded probably makes the lead. I think Tappan Street tries to sit second in this spot. But I couldn't use all 3 favorites. I went with Ferocious over Guns Loaded in this spot just because of the way Guns Loaded looked and the fact I think Tappan Street could cause, and Guns Loaded could cause some problems for each other. Like if they end up going out and going after each other, I bet both of them do not win this race. And so because of that, I'd rather take the closer here of Ferocious, who looked awesome in the Hopeful, looked good in the Breeders' Cup Futurity, ran a mess of a race really in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Like I get it. Like I'm not using Ferocious because he was in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. I'm using Ferocious more for the previous 2 races that I thought he ran well in. And I'm willing to kind of draw a line through the juvenile form as well. Just if you watch that race, was 3 lengths back at the half-mile point, but then drops to 7 lengths back, gets shuffled back, ends up shuffled all the way 10th, and then re-engages and finishes 5th. Like, it was just a mess of a race for him. So willing to kind of draw a line through that one and give Delgado and Castellano another chance here. And then for me, I'm going to put the 7 on here. Burnham Square. This is a horse for Ian Wilkes that drew the outside. I really like the post because I think this is kind of your clearly sitting in 3rd horse behind the 3 and the 4. And if it's a situation where the 3 and 4 go after each other, I think Burnham Square is the one who really benefits from it, should be able to cross over, get the rail, get that 3rd position, and then be able to make first move on the top 2. So I do like the trip that you kind of can work out in your head here for the 7 Burnham Square.
I was looking back at the Ferocious race. I know Chancellor McPatrick won. The Hopeful Stakes specifically. Yeah. So Chancellor McPatrick wins a grade 1 race out of there, right? He wins the Champagne. Smokin' Wicked was 4th, wins 2 Louisiana bred stakes. So there's number 2. Menti wins the grade 3 Futurity on the turf. So there's 3 stakes winners. Studley Do Right was 7th. He wins the Nashua Stakes. There's 4. There's a horse named Tough Catch in there. He wins the Sugar Bowl Stakes. That's 5. And you have Innovator. Our boy Innovator was 5th. He was less than a length away from winning the Lecomte Stakes. And like you could have had 6 stakes winners come out of the Hopeful. That's nuts. Anyways, Burnham Square was your other one.
Yeah.
We'll see. So
you can say you don't like him. That's fine.
I don't love him. I think he's a great underneath horse. I don't see him winning here. I thought that big improvement adding the blinkers, like you said, but he doesn't feel like this is going to be the race for him. I would have loved to see him in like the Sam F. Davis at Tampa, right? Or something like that. But he did win locally, so I get why they're here. The blinkers kept him more engaged, and Ian Wilkes did say that was a big key last time out. I'm worried that was like a one-off, and that now he faces better horses. There's going to be a lot of speed. You're not going to be able to sit a length and a half behind if they're not going 24, 47, and 4. I'm afraid he's going to be too far back. And with that short stretch, the wire comes up at the 16th pole there. I'm just worried he's going to leave himself with too much to do for this race at this track configuration.
Well, I mean, he left himself with a lot to do at Churchill and almost did it 2 back. And that to me is the other part of it. It's like, at least you can point to a race where he has closed. I do think he shows more speed. I think he's probably 3-4 lengths off the 3 and the 4 who are going for it out front. I mean, is there anyone besides the 3 and the 4 that you think set the pace? It's got to be one of the 2, right?
Yeah. I mean, the one went Gates of Wire last out, but he went 24, 48 and a half. Like, he went glacially slow. 3 or 4 will go.
Never touched the front prior to that either.
The 5, he was slow out of the gate and broke from the rail in the Kentucky Jockey Club, but even his synthetic speed, not good. So he probably sits. I think he and the 6 probably sit in that second grouping, maybe.
And that's what kind of ties me in there, right? Is if you can sit behind the 3 and the 4 and you're a couple lengths back, you get first run. And that's when you have a horse like Ferocious who, I know Ed mentioned this here, thinks 2's the best, but may not be showing his best this weekend, which is totally possible. We've seen horses take steps forward when you're going on the Kentucky Derby trail every time they come out. I just don't want that dead closer to be the horse that's trying to bail me out of the 3 Tappan Street if Tappan Street does give it up in the lane and for some reason. So to me, Burnham Square made sense here just from a logistical standpoint with how you're kind of playing the race out in your head.
5th and final leg of the Gulfstream Park, late pick 5 on Saturday, February 1st. Race 12 is the Grade 3 Forward Gal Stakes. 11 3-year-old fillies sprinting 7 furlongs. And Kentucky Oaks points are on the line. When you think Kentucky Oaks, at least for this group of fillies, you got to think about Brad Cox, right? He's got, like, even with Immersive out, he's still got a couple of really, really strong runners in here. He's got 2 entered, but it is a field of 11. Where'd you go on top?
Give me Kathleen O on top here. Oh, wait, wrong year. Wrong year. Has she crossed the finish line yet in the Kentucky?
Oh, give me the
yeah. I get this horse wrong pretty much every time she runs. So I'm sorry.
No.
I'm sorry, Shotty. Give me the Queen's MG on top. I did not have her either time she was 44-1. I'll tell you that much. Did have the horse that ran second to her both times, though. That's been fun. This is a mess of a race, and I'm going to end up 2 deep here to try and really shorten it down. You could go 6 deep here if you really wanted to, but I'm gonna go with the Queen's MG on top. This is just the most tested horse in this field, and when you look at her wins and how she's been able to win, it's when, oh look, there's a bunch of speed signed on, and she's just kind of the next fastest horse she's not fast enough to get the lead, but then she sits in 4th, and all of a sudden she doesn't stop, and everyone around her does. Yet they've gone too fast for anyone really to blitz in from the back. That's kind of what this race feels like. So you're going to have a lot of horses that go quick, and they're all going to stop. And then it's like, okay, who can pick up the pieces from mid-pack? I think the Queen's MG has the best shot there. So give me the 2 on top here, 5-1.
So I ended up adding the 12 in the first leg and took the Queen's MG off. So I really hope that doesn't end up being my undoing here. My concerns about the 2. One, that she peaked as a 2-year-old, right? She had that big win.
Yeah.
Big win on debut in April at Keeneland. And that's when our friends Mark and Clint Cornett privately purchased her. And then the Astoria throws up a clunker as a 2-1 favorite. Schuylerville romps at 44-1. Adirondack 5-2, an even bigger romp. Spin Away, it was a wet track. Crossed that off.
Yep.
Last time out in the Tempted Stakes, I wanted to see a little more from her. It was a decent 3rd, but that was November 2nd. This will be a 3-month layoff when she returns. She has had 2 3-furlong works and a slow 4-furlong work. And that's it. And Safi said, like, I probably would have wanted to get another work or 2 into her before this, but he also said this race was the goal out of the Tempted. So this is another one where I'm going to stop and say, I don't want you now, but I want you in your next race, assuming you just don't look, well, even if she looks bad, right? She's bounced back before. So I'm going to pass on her here. Just because I'm worried that she's not going to be fully ready for it.
Do you think I thought the mile might be too long? Part of the reason I liked her here was cutting back. Do you think that's a positive for her here, or is the Tempted just not a good enough race for you?
I do. I think 7 furlongs is better than a mile for her, because even if you look at her running line, like she was 2 3/4 lengths off, she gets within a length and a half halfway through the race, and then just steadily kind of fades. Can't keep up. So maybe cutting back, you would think, would help her here. I don't know if it's enough of a cutback. Maybe she's a 6.5 furlong horse too.
IRAD picks up the mount. 35%. That's me. You sure this is the time? This is the time. All right, talk about the 7, because I'm sure you have her on top, and that's my second pick.
It is who I have on top. How did you know that?
I know magic. We've done, what is this, 578 episodes later?
There's 2 Cox horses in here. And this is the one that's the longer price of the 2.
I know the type of Cox you like.
I can't. The 7 Eccleton. How do I reply to that? Listen, there's another case where there's a bunch of questionable speed, I think, in here. I don't see anybody winning this necessarily gate to wire. So I think the fact that she's going to have that nice stalking trip, like she had 2 starts back and 3 start back. Shoddy, stop it. You look at her first 2 career starts, both nice wins, right? She was in a stalking trip. Last time on the Grade 2 Golden Run, she was trying 2 turns, and she broke from the rail. And her jockey just kind of had to go. Giroux, I thought, did the right thing, which is you got to put her on the up front, because otherwise you got some horses that'll cross over on you. And she faced some good horses. Good Cheers 4 for 4. She is now, in my opinion, the best horse on the Kentucky Oaks Trail. It's another Brad Cox horse. Quiet Side for Johnny Ortiz. Had a really good second in the Martha Washington Stakes. A really good horse, currently. Another one that maybe 2 turns isn't her best spot, but I think getting back to 1 turn will help her use that stalking trip a little bit more. So yeah, I put her on top. Absolutely.
Yeah, she's kind of like maybe a more talented version of the Queen's MG. Like if you think about, like, has the early speed, but not necessarily the fastest of the group, but kind of wants to go a little bit further than 6 furlongs. I thought the mile and 16th was too far. I like the fact that we're cutting back here. I don't think 7 furlongs is going to be an issue. Is a really, really well-bred horse. Is a daughter of Into Mischief out of a Scat Daddy mare. And this is one of those races where you're like, yeah, Brett Cox probably gonna show up with some horses in this spot. And when you kind of go through, it's interesting because you have like the Queen's MG with the class, right? Where it's running the better races than anybody else. But then you have some of the later 3-year-olds and this one, Eclatant, and like the 9 Rojo Rita, they put up bigger numbers later in the season. And now we're kind of seeing what, if they can kind of back those up. And the thing I like about the 7 is you at least have that non-winners effort, or that winner's effort, where you've won you broke your maiden, then you go in and you face winning company, and ran well. Like I thought that, especially that 6 furlong 100K N1X was very good at Keeneland. I thought the Goldenrod was kind of what you expected from this horse, where like just too far, and now we're cutting back in distance. I think Elegant's one of those horses that can sit, let's say 4th, 3rd, somewhere in that range, and be able to make that run. So. I think the 7's a good play here. I went just 2-7. Did you go any deeper here? Or did you just go? Well, obviously you did. You didn't single a 7. Who else did you use, Magic?
I want to bring up Carl Ramrod's comment. Eclatant means shiny, sparkling, brilliant. I can see why you want that, Cox.
Yeah,
hopefully. By the way, she is a full.
Is it a stunner?
It is a stunner. But 7 Eclatant. Full to Muta Sabek. I don't even remember that horse. Won the Grade 2 Bourbon as a 2-year-old. Won the Mucho Macho Man Stardust 3-year-old campaign. I think disappeared after that. But yes, I used the number 11 Stunner as my other horse in here. Another one getting back to 1 turn is going to help her out. Her second career start, going 6.5 furlongs at Backwaduct. She wins by 6 1/4. One start after finishing second as the 85-cent favorite. Then goes to the Tempted Stakes, and that's a 1-turn mile at Backwaduct, and she wins that one by 3.5 lengths. Impulse Buy was second, came back and won the Fern Creek Stakes at Keeneland next start out with an 84 buyer, so that I thought backed up the 89 Stunner got. This is you want to talk about the 7, but it probably is going to be better at 1 turn. What the bleep happened to the 11 Stunner in that stakes race here at Gulfstream going a mile and 16?
I don't know.
She's up by 4 lengths. Comfortable fractions, and this is like the worst case scenario of what happened to Guns Loaded in the Mucho Macho Man. Hit the wall of all walls, and a maiden beats her, and the maiden is 30-1 in this race, and neither of us want anything to do with her. I'm like, good God Almighty! Like, if this horse needs to go back to 1 turn, and she's gonna do it. Oof, that one's horrible. I'm hoping maybe that helps the 11's price a little bit, because that's just god off. Also, no offense to Zayas. Like, he's a good enough jockey when it's not the championship meet. You're getting Tyler Gaffley on the board. That should help.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the buyers on the 11, 76, 86, 89, 59. Like, what happened there? And 59 ran second too. You're like, wait a second. like not 8th. What? How do we run second? Right. That was a bad race. That's how you ran second. We'll see if this is obviously a tougher field. I'm worried that she doesn't make the lead, and that to me was the biggest issue here, where like we have absolutely no information what happens when this horse is sitting 3rd, 3 wide, right? So to me the post is an issue here, because I feels like Stunner is one of those that has to have the lead, and there's a lot of horses signed on here who are going to try and take it away from her. Neither of us mentioned neither of mentioned the 9 Rojo Rita. By the way, 11 was my 3rd horse on, so I don't hate it. I didn't use the 9. Another one that debuted outside of championship meet, comes back for Safi. Volatile horse. We talked about Volatile. What a great sire he has been. Was there any interest here, or is it just can't at this price against this level off that race?
Well, not further backing up the point of it was a non-championship win. And Safi, a lot of times we'll have horses that do that, where it's like early November. They what was the horse's name? Merritt, that Aaron drafted in the fantasy league a year or 2 ago. huge effort, non-championship. And then out of that maiden special weight just comes back and looks average at best, and it just can't stand up to it. Safi with the 9, and also Ian Wilkes with the 3, Justin Queso, great name.
Awesome.
Huge buyers, right? 85 for that horse on debut, 83 for Rojo Rita on debut. They both said they were trying to get an allowance race to fill, and it wouldn't. They both were trying. They're like, they couldn't find 3 other horses between those 2 guys to fill an allowance race. They both kept trying to go to a first level allowance, couldn't get it to fill. And they said, we're just going to end up here. My knock on the 3, Justin Queso, I know the horse got DQ'd into a win last out. I remember that race. Dominant Diva, the winner, yes, like herded and drifted a bit. I didn't agree with that disqualification because I didn't think Justin Queso was going by her. She was kind of just hanging on like at the hip. And at the very last second, Bravo, being the very smart veteran jockey he is with a 7-pound bug allowance drifting in front of him, went, oh, we're going to get it. Bullshit. You were not winning that race. Anyway, sorry. Don't mean to rant. I didn't have money on maybe I did have money on Dominant Diva, but
yeah, I would think
just in case so.
I agree with you. It was a BS DQ. Went back and watched the race today. But I would take Justin Queso over the 9. For like A, price, B, at least we know Justin Queso could pass horses. Like that to me is a positive there. So I thought that was interesting. Crazy Price, who I had in 4th, who did not make the ticket, but if you're interested in spreading out here a little bit, the 1 horse Unchained Elaine, my old buddy Patrick Biancone, who only wins races when he's 20-1. This is a horse whose form is just super muddy. Like if you're like, okay, let's just focus on the 6 furlong or 7 furlong sprints, and you focus on the dirt. This horse has gotten a little bit better every single time, right? And like running a mile in a stakes race, running a mile on the turf in a stakes race, ran at Kentucky Downs in a 6.5 furlong stakes race. If you just look at the dirt efforts, which by the way are all at Gulfstream Park, 5 efforts, 2 wins, 2 seconds, 1/3, career best buyer, comes at 7 furlongs, today's distance, is able to pass horses. Like there's a bunch of boxes that get checked for a horse that is 20-1. So I thought the 1 was a little bit interesting as well. Rob chiming in on the 5. Did you look at the 5 at all here?
I did. I looked at it and went, nope, not for me.
Yeah. If this
race was at Aqueduct, I'd be a lot more interested. You're going from
the Parks and Laurel
to the championship meet. No.
Yeah, and it's not like Coletti's been like on fire doing this, right? 0 for 5 so far at Gulfstream Park. The Castellano ad I think is at least interesting. Wouldn't talk you off of 20-1, but not one that I was going after.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. That's going to do it for this episode of the Magic Mike Show. Thanks for joining us to talk about the Late Pick 5 Saturday, February 1st at Gulfstream Park. It's already February 1st pretty soon. That's pretty crazy. We'll go ahead and give it our tickets real quick one last time. Take a look down below if you're watching the video. For the podcast listeners, I'll read them off, or I'll read mine off and then hand it off to Mike. I am going to go 2, 5, 8, 9, 12 with 2, 6, with 3, 6, 7, 8, with 3, 4, with 7, 11, $80 for me, Mr. Somich.
I'm going to play a cheaper ticket here, $72. I'm going to go 1, 2, 6 with 3, 6 with 3, 4, 5, 6 with 2, 3, 7 with 2, 7, $72 for 50 cents.
Blinkers off. If it hasn't started already, they will probably wait. No, they don't. They were supposed to start at 2, so they'll probably start in about 3 minutes. So we're gonna get out of here and let them take over. You can check them out if you're catching the replay. Go check it out on the YouTube channel or on podcasts everywhere. Same place you found us. You can find Blinkers off there. No football this weekend. Are you going back to Vegas, or you get the weekend off?
Weekend here at home. So just be able to do the show from home here, 4 to 7 on Saturday, 5 to 8 on Sunday. Sunday is going to be a Super Bowl extravaganza, including all the props. You can check that out over on YouTube TV on the VSiN channel or channel 158 on SiriusXM.
Love it. I'm absolutely going to tune in because I know how much you love the props, and your prop analysis is spot on. So I'm not just saying these are my pockets, but you really are. I heard someone earlier today telling me, like, yeah, the props are coming out soon. You can even bet on something as crazy as how long the national anthem. I heard that, and I was like, Somich has already got that dialed in.
You know that the guy who sang the national anthem sang it in 2017 at the NBA All-Star game as well.
I don't know.
Already researched when, like, one of the. I don't know who the guy is.
Is it Mark Cohn?
No, it's not Mark Cohn. It's in New Orleans. So no Super Bowl in Memphis ever, probably. But yeah, it's always interesting when you can go back and watch previous national anthems. And he was way under. Right now it's set at 2 minutes and half a second. And I think he did it in like 140 the first in 2017. So people tend to extend out their national anthems at the Super Bowl. because why not, right? The obviously the most watched event, especially compared to the NBA All-Star game. But 20 extra seconds seems like a big ask.
Yeah. I don't know what's gonna happen. But tune in to Mike on VSiN. I'll be on FanDuel TV 8:30 to noon Pacific time in the morning shift there with Gabby Gaudette. And I got to be on with Gabby earlier this week and had a wonderful time. So we're going to run it back on Saturday. Follow us on Twitter. I'm at Curtis Kalleward. He's at Somobomb 18, number 1, number 8. Blinkers Off is about to start, so go enjoy that. And until next time, I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
Good luck this weekend.
The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.